Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. An absolute pleasure to have you here with us today. Maybe you can kick off with a brief introduction to this incredible film, The Silent Forest. For people who don't know anything about it, how would you tell them a bit about what they can expect to see?
The Silent Forest is the story of a young forestry student, Anja Grimm, and she's going back to the region where her father went missing 20 years ago. Through her work, she figures out that there are soil anomalies and that there's something wrong with the flora, and she figures out that that there are deeper layers of guilt and denial in the region, and she figures out what the secret is, and nobody wants her to find it.
And it's based on a novel. So how did you come across Wolfram's writing? And what was it about the story that you thought would just work so well on the big screen?
I think what's so special about it is the way the protagonist figures out what happened through the plants. So we're really going with a scientist and seeing stuff that I never saw before on the big screen. So this was really intriguing for me. And I had the pleasure to work with Wolfram Fleischhauer before on another project. He was working on the screenplay there, and so we loved working together. He gave me this novel because he knew I'm from Bavaria and I'm interested in like intriguing stories that are relevant. So I was reading it and I was like, okay, let's do this one together. And then we started developing the script, which he wrote as well, which was really wonderful because he had all the knowledge coming from the novel. So.
And it does feel like the setting, the location, the fact it's in Bavaria is really crucial to the story. So why was it special to you, and why do you think it was almost like a character in the story, exactly where it was set?
Yes, I think this was really important for us to go back to the region where the story is set, because it's historically a special region, and we wanted to have this rural character. We asked all our actors to work on their dialect for this one, to be really truthful. I always like it when you can really fall into a story and be there, and this was something we wanted to create. So it was really important to go back there and not shooting somewhere else, and something we really fighted for.
And tell us about your cast, in particular Henriette for Anja. How did you know that she was the right actress to play this part, and how did you work with her kind of to develop the character and achieve your vision for the film?
This is so interesting because we did a casting like 2 years before shooting, and I don't know why I knew that she's the right one, but I just knew it. It was like, okay, she is that. And I saw something in the private person that I didn't see on the screen so much in the project she did before, but I had the feeling like this is really in her, and that's her, and she can do it. And it was the most amazing thing seeing her creating this character, and it's all her physicality that is so much needed for this film, because it's really hard work that she's doing in it, and like not being afraid of working with a dead animal or anything like that. And she did this, so she was so fierce, and I'm really happy every day in the editing that I saw her and thought, yes, this was like the best decision ever.
And you're mentioning there about animals. It does feel like they play also, a big role in the film, or a theme that runs throughout, but maybe not in the kind of romanticized way that sometimes kind of nature is presented, but maybe in a bit more of a kind of brutal way. So what relevance did that have for you in the film?
I think what's also interesting about the story is that nature doesn't forget. And it doesn't forgive. And this is the point, how she can figure out what's going on, like reading the nature. And to get to this information, she has to dig deep, and she has to break into, and she has to open, and she has to look beneath the surface, and like figuring out what is down there in the dark. And this is where these themes always come in. Like she has really to fight to get the truth from nature.
And it does kind of deal with trauma in a way, and how people process this, and how it's in maybe sort of collective trauma too. So how did you want to present that, and what do you hope that people will take away from watching it in that respect?
I think what's really interesting is that most people don't learn to deal with their trauma. So they don't have a psychiatrist, especially in the 90s in the countryside. So you don't have anybody to tell you how to deal with it. And this makes really many people speechless. And this sort of speechlessness and people not talking to each other and not knowing how to deal with their trauma is not helpful. On the other hand, it really destroys like connections within families and has an impact on later generations. And this is one of the really important topics of the film, how not talking is not just not talking, it's actually doing harm to others.
And where would you say that your film kind of sits within genre? And why was, you know, the way you put it together kind of appealing to you? I guess kind of combining family drama with sort of thriller aspects. And it feels like there's a lot of female directors working in this space. So I wondered if you could also speak to that a bit, why you think there's kind of that wave or that trend appearing.
I think it's really interesting to use these elements of a thriller and also some elements of a mystery. Like, it's not a mystery film, but we're using some elements in dreams or when she goes swimming. And I think it's just intriguing to have this, and it's like helping to intensify the drama. Because we saw this so often, like how a drama evolves, but then sometimes maybe stick to the normal way of telling a story, and this just puts up another layer of aesthetics that is possible to intensify this. Yes. And I think this is something I really liked. And these are also the scenes. I myself am happy, and I think I saw this film like 890 times now. I don't know, like I have the feeling I see it every day. And still, these are the scenes I'm really looking forward, where I am in a cinema and really think, okay, now this is coming, and this is like, has another layer. It's more about, yes, a visual thing instead of telling.
And what was the shoot like for you? Were there scenes that were particularly challenging to film, or ones you enjoyed more than others?
I think, of course, it was always super complicated when you had to deal with these special effects. So always when there's blood coming in or destroying stuff, or also animals, because we don't only have dead animals, we also have living dogs. So this is always stuff where you're super nervous in advance, because you don't know how will this dog react. Will it be loud enough? And sometimes things also didn't work out. So I remember we were sitting like in a super small room, and in the next room, our actor Noah Saavedra, he was acting together with the wolf, and just the wolf was afraid of a small dog. He should be the aggressor. So, and we were sitting in the other room, and just like the wolf was afraid, and like the week before everyone was afraid of the wolf, but then on set he was the one who was like, I want to go back home. So super sweet. But then of course in the shooting process, it's not the things that you like the most.
Yeah. And where do you see that perhaps your film has some connection to kind of fairy tale, or, you know, like the Grimm fairy tales or fable? And was that another important aspect of the film?
Yes, I think this is the Grimm fairy tales, a super German thing, also as the German romantic, which is also dealing like with the romantic idea of forest and so on. But we were searching for the tales behind. I think sometimes today we have this imagination, like we know it from Disney films or children's books, but this is not how these fairy tales came into being. They're really cruel stories about famines and about war and about killings. And I think the film is going back there and trying to figure out what is under the shiny princess surface of the fairy tales we know.
And in particular, coming to, you know, the aspect of Holocaust, you know, and how that has kind of lived in collective memory and things like that. What do you think the film has to say about that?
I think this is the speechlessness we talked about before. It is in the film, we have it in this microcosm of the family, but of course it is important to see this more universally or on a bigger scale, and to figure out what does it do to the public and to the society when we don't talk about the things we did wrong, when we don't talk about how we failed actually as a society. And this is so important to go back there, especially today when we are losing so many people who might be able to talk about what happened to them, because of course many people are dying now who lived through this era.
And what does it mean to you to have the film showing here at the Berlinale, and particularly the fact that people are able to watch it on the big screen? Because it feels so much is lost when you're watching things that are meant for the cinema, you know, at home on the telly or on a laptop. So what does it mean to be here and be here in person?
I think it's really great to be here and to see this film together with the audience, because for me this is the moment where the film comes into being. It's not like the film doesn't exist on its own. It exists when he's watched. And this is so good to sit in the audience with the spectators and just figuring out what excites them, what happens, how does it feel like. And this is like this big moment of emotion. We're really looking forward for tomorrow when it premieres. And yes, I want many people to see it in the cinema, because I had to watch it a lot on my small screen, and then seeing it big and also listening to it, because it really sounds different, of course, in the cinema. This is like always, it's magic, kind of.
And of course, this was your directorial debut. Where do you go from here? Have you already got a next film in mind? And what do you think you learned from this experience that you're going to take onto your next project?
Oh, I learned so much. I think this is the most interesting thing, that because I'm working in film like since forever, I have the feeling that just like I started as an actress, I'm a producer, so I did some films before, but sometimes I sat in the editing or on set and I was like, why am I allowed to do this? I don't know shit. I just literally don't know stuff. And I think this is the best. This kind of work is always about evolving and about progress and about getting better and to figuring it out. So I did so many mistakes here, and I'm really eager to use what I learned from them and to make the next film. So I'm really up for it now.
And just finally, you know, if you've been in the industry for a while and you're kind of entering into it, or at least, you know, stepping behind the camera, do you feel that there are more opportunities now for female directors and female creators? And, you know, even at places like the Berlinale, like, it feels like there's such a rich array of stories coming from women. Or do you think there's still progress to be made in terms of equality and who can tell stories?
I think we've come a long way, and it's really good to see that there's so many really driven female directors now really also having their films on festivals and getting recognition. But of course, when we see the numbers, there's also still a long way to go, especially regarding budgets, for example. So it's still like, of course, women can work with small budgets, but of course, we want to make big movies as well. So this is where we're heading now.
Fingers crossed, you know, in a few years' time, you'll have a Marvel movie budget or something. 2 million. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and really enjoy your time here in Berlin and having everyone watch your film and getting on the red carpet.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
It was a pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.